Alright, starting off part 2.
I've called you here as representatives of the
Here's me
largest
doing the voice of Shan Yu.
Phoenix King.
He's pretty much establishing that we're not going to fight anymore, we're just going to try and keep the world as it is. So he's probably our smartest king yet.
I'm taking the throne for myself, but rest assured, the Chinese Imperium does not intend to challenge you. All I ask is that you fall into line behind me, and together we work to rebuild what we have lost. This petty fighting will no longer be tolerated, and will be met with the most brutal force.
So, this scene is Chase Young from Shaolin Showdown approaching Mosenrath and Shan Yu with a favor in mind. One thing to know is that Chase Young is not evil yet. As you can see, his footage is of him in his Shaolin form, and he's still a Shaolin monk, not a Heilin. This is all footage from his backstory episode in flashbacks and such, before he gets turned evil. In the show, in the original canon, Hannibal Roy Bean fools him into drinking a soup that turns him into a Heilin. But we're gonna actually alter how he turns evil in our series as time goes on, and you'll see later on what occurs with it. And I'm actually pretty excited for it.
Sacrifices must be made.
Hey, look.
Yeah, we had no idea what to do with Hollywood either, so it's kind of another instance of just taking out the trash.
Number 1, Mock is mine. Do not touch. Number 2, let me make the pecking order clear. It goes Mock, me, the dirt.
Just to kind of clarify, Lust was pretty much killing Holly just for being an obnoxious one. Not necessarily because she likes Mock. I kind of like to go under the impression that she doesn't actually, care for Mock, like, as Holly did, necessarily. That she's more so just working for him to get by with Chernobog, and, like, you know, does favors for him, quote-unquote, just to kind of keep good standing. Okay, Ursula versus the Maniac. The whole faction gathers, and Ursula declares herself the leader. I was really lucky to find that Headless Horseman clip from House of Mouse that just worked perfectly in a faction meeting setting like this. So, this was originally going to be Ursula versus Webstor from He-Man. Webstor was the Skeletor minion, the purple one that looked like a spider. You may remember him for being like, "Don't worry, Skeletor, I'm staying to fight," and being the only one not to get locked up. We were going to just kill him here, since he didn't get locked up. But iTunes went and pulled all of their He-Man episodes, and I still wanted to introduce Ursula as faction leader somehow, which is why I acted quick and got this episode of My Little Pony with Maniac. For something improvised so fast, I'm insanely happy with how this one came out. Maniac proved to be actually pretty fun to edit with. Ursula is super fun to edit with. Just her mess with me footage was just really fun to put stuff together with. Alright, next is the Stepmothers 3 versus Lord Malice, Darkheart, and the Wizard of Wonderland. Yeah, we've... Once again, taking out the trash. We're starting out part 3 just by clearing out a bit more space. Not quite like we did with the part 2 finale, but a good number of people that we don't need anymore are getting just kind of shafted. Manu's been wanting to kill Darkheart for the longest time. You have no idea. We were originally going to do maybe like Abysmal versus Darkheart, or like Jafar and Abysmal versus Malice and Darkheart, but we decided on this. And Manu personally purposely made it just, let's just get rid of him as quick as possible in the fight, with the most humiliating send-off possible, just in a box. And Malice is like, gonna do a super long, drawn-out dragon transformation just to make an escape. Later! Next is the Sarians versus the Triceratons. This here is Lord Dreg. he he didn't quite Zeminus the Shredder, but he replaced Shredder and Krang as the main villains of the 80s Ninja Turtles cartoon, for the last season or two, and the Triceratons were just, like, side villains in the 2002 show. We had this fight planned, and we had a hard time making it work, which is why Disney Daniel volunteered to make it, and it came out super well, and I really thank him for that. Dreg hires the Triceratons and promises that if they succeed in disrupting the Sarians, they'll get an audience with his master. You don't get to see that in this round, but you will in the next round, and it should be a pretty cool surprise who their master is. Lots of really good Sarian footage that hasn't been used yet. Big props to Daniel. And the Sarians have to run away. Alright, Lust and Gluttony versus Macbeth. It was originally going to be Macbeth versus Envy, and I had the idea to edit it together with, like, since Envy's a shapeshifter, I was going to have her briefly turn into Grouch, Macbeth's wife. I'm probably not pronouncing that right, but Macbeth's wife from the medieval times, and, like, throw him off a little. And Envy gets shot a lot, so that probably wouldn't have been hard to edit together. But I changed my mind, because I decided I wanted to do Lust and Gluttony first, since they're the two homunculus that fight first in the show as well. And you know, I figured this would be easy enough to edit together too, and it came out pretty well. I needed a couple episodes for it, just because, like, well, Lust and Gluttony do fight a lot. It's just not a lot in one episode. I just needed a few different episodes, but it wasn't, like, a pain in the ass to edit together. It came out alright. Besides a couple instances of lag here and there, I'm really satisfied with how it came out. So here's Flog. He's, alien mutant from the He-Man show. For those of you that don't follow the backstories or just can't remember, we established in a backstory that the space mutants of Flog's people were actually mutated by Krang in sort of an act of inner sabotage, espionage. As you may remember, Flog is the one that hired Gantu to hunt down Krang way back in before the fall, for that reason. And we've been meaning to use Flog for a super long time. He was back in the Part 2 trailer, but now we're finally getting him in. And he's fighting Zerg. Again, more Zerg footage that hasn't been used yet. Giant Hornet. This fight was one of the ones Manu did fairly early just because he was so excited to do it, because he finally got a chance to edit with Flog. Long-awaited Flog fight. They all just topple all over each other. And Skeletor is watching, of course. So, alright, I'll go with it. And that's part 2. I'll see you guys in part 3.